9-3.
6 4 times.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Glad You Asked. We had a little bit of a interesting start today because today we are both in the same place. So even though you see Teresa's name, I'm Tiffany, and Teresa's right here. She'll be joining us in just a second here for today's version of Glad You Asked. So we've got some interesting topics here to discuss with you all today. Before we open it up for your questions. All right. So let's start with topic number 1. So topic number 1 is appraiser power. Appraiser power. How much power does an appraiser have in your real estate transaction? We've had some really interesting conversations here lately about appraisers, about their pushback to the lenders, about their questions about the properties or contracts here. So we're going to have an interesting discussion here about appraiser power. All right. And so one of the scenarios that we have been hearing about is that realtors are being sued. We've been hearing that realtors are being sued by their buyer clients who did not get an appraisal done on their property and did not realize that they were overpaying in this market. All right. So we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about this and give you some advice on how to protect yourself in a scenario like this. So let's talk about appraiser power and what happens in transactions where there's not an appraisal. So have any of you all had any recent transactions that use an appraiser or any interaction with an appraiser lately? Okay, Mike, I see you nodding. Was there anything like unusual or anything that surprised you here lately?
Well, I've had all kinds of surprises here lately.
Okay.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And most of them are properties that appraised that I didn't think would.
Aha.
Okay.
Okay.
Just had one come back this week that my buyer went in $15,000 over the list price on a for sale by owner.
Mhm.
And they had come to an agreement that he would pay so much over the appraised value if it didn't appraise and whatnot. And it came in $5,000 above purchase price.
Wow.
All
Yeah,
right.
wow.
Wow.
Well, there's a positive surprise, as opposed to negative ones, right? So you
Yep.
didn't even have to go through all of the renegotiations or your new paperwork with changes because the house actually appraised. All right.
And that was this week that one came in. I did have one back in the spring, a house in Durham that long story short, we had a couple of times it went under contract and then the buyer walked away and then it went immediately back under contract, like within 5 days for $15,000 over list price again. And then it appraised for $40,000 less. And the seller said, and we didn't have any agreements that the buyer would only pay a certain amount above or anything like that. It was, and I've got a question about that too, by the way. The seller said, well, my original list price was $350. I'll drop it to $350. If they're willing to pay that, then we have a deal. And the buyer was willing to pay the additional $25,000. So that one did close at $350. My question that I have is this addendum that we have that says it must appraise and whatnot. Isn't that what our contract is the contract, right? The appraisal, even if it comes in low, unless they specifically say they'll pay the difference or they won't pay the difference, don't we already have that? Isn't that a part of our offer to purchase?
Is the fact that they will or won't pay a part of the offer to purchase?
They're willing to.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, so what you're asking is if the purchase price is $350, but it doesn't appraise, it appraises for, I don't know, $340, they're still obligated at $350, is what you're saying.
Obligated to a certain point. They can walk away.
Sure.
However, they lose whatever money is at risk.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But really, they're obligated to that price. It's a contract, correct?
Yes, it's a contract. It is a contract.
Again, with the understanding that the obligation doesn't really kick in until after the due diligence period.
Right.
Right.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. So that appraisal addendum is designed for scenarios where when you're getting into homes or buyers making offers, say over ask, and with the expectation that it's likely not going to appraise, just establishing that that's the understanding up front without a negotiation attempt.
Okay. So I need to look back at that addendum that Taylor Law created, because to me, that said the same thing as our offer to purchase. Is that correct or not?
No,
it's different. The piece that probably sounds more like the offer to purchase or standard language is that FHA and VA piece, where it's written such that the appraisal provision cannot override the FHA and VA addendum.
Okay.
yeah, but it's very specific wording to how it's going to be addressed when the property doesn't appraise, essentially, as opposed to that not being specifically addressed in the contract.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll review that again.
Very good. So thank you for sharing that, Mike.
You're welcome.
Sharing.
All right. So this next scenario, again, we're hearing here recently about realtors being sued by their buyer clients who did a cash deal. So, cash deals don't require appraisals. And so they are claiming that their realtor did not tell them they were overpaying for the property. And then when they later have it appraised and it doesn't appraise for what they paid for it, they are trying to sue their realtor. And so in the scenario like that one, when you're dealing with people with cash, you have to make sure that it's very clear that you communicate to them what the expectation is as far as what that property is worth. And how do you do that? How do you communicate what the probable sales price of a property to your client? Okay, comps, good. So providing comps or a CMA to your client. Do you owe comps and a CMA only to seller clients to help them price their home? No, you also owe them to your buyer clients. Okay, so it's important to make sure that you all understand that you do owe a CMA to your buyer clients, and that you should make sure to have proof that you've provided that CMA and some sort of indicator of where you think that property should appraise or would appraise if they were to have an appraisal. Okay. So when you have not done so, or if you haven't done so in writing, remember, I always tell you guys to make sure it's in writing, make sure you have a paper or email trail so that you can prove when they forget later and claim that you never told them what it was actually worth, that you have some proof or some protection that you did inform your client. Okay, so again, a CMA is a part of your duties, your old car to your client, right? And if you don't know what old car is, you haven't been in pre-licensing for a while, right?
Exactly.
But it's your agency duties to your client. And so Making sure that you cover yourselves by having proof that you did provide that CMA to your clients is really important, especially in cash deals. So when you allow a buyer, in this market, I've had a lot of agents to come to me and say, I just feel so terrible because I know they're overpaying. And I'm like, well, it's that market where, they're being forced to because there's so much competition. And if they don't overpay, somebody else will. If your buyers are willing, you just have to make sure that you have communicated what you believe per the CMA, the property is actually worth, and make it clear that they would be overpaying in order to win that property if they make their bid. So again, just making sure that you understand your job and your role is to educate that client and prepare them for making whatever decision or choice that they want to make in an educated manner or fashion. Anything to add to that?
No, that was very good. Just curious, how do you all do CMA? Is it through the MLS Wizards, or what is that through? RPR, how do you provide CMAs? It's no right or wrong. I'm just curious how you do it.
I just do it using the MLS, and I pull my own data, and I don't use any other programs.
All right, very good.
I'm the same way. I just pull the sold comparables and just basically go over those comparables.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mike.
I do MLS and RPR.
Okay, all right.
We have an updated, at one time, we had a list of items for consideration as far as when we were pulling our comps, and if something had a garage or didn't have an extra bedroom or those type of things, but I know that list is like severely outdated. Do we have any kind of guideline to go by that's more updated?
Yeah, I don't know of one, but I like it, Tori. That's probably, we can get with an appraiser and have an appraiser.
I talked to, I need to chat with Dina again. I actually asked her to take it to the list that I had from several years ago, to take it to her mom, Pam McCone, to see if she would be willing to give us like a rough range, not that we were going to hold her to it, but obviously, depending on quality or whatever that we're talking about, just to give us something that we could plug in that we weren't like way off.
Yeah, I that may be something that our department may be willing to do. Go get with an appraiser and see if they'll provide that.
I think that would be helpful to everybody, because I think we just guess a lot of times on what to plug in and take away and all that.
Right. Okay, very good. Good point. Thank you, Tori. Curious, Tori, because I know you do a lot with commercial. Do you use anything specific for commercial?
His name is Rick Gunn. That's who I use. Now, I mean, I know some ranges as far as, what office or industrial, just from seeing prices that, people have. But when it comes down to it, I put that one to work.
Gotcha.
I try to stay in my lane. I know some, but I'll be honest, I try to stay in my lane when it comes to pricing out too much commercially.
Very good. I appreciate that.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Well, so again, the takeaway from that first scenario there is to make sure, if you have not been providing or keeping some sort of record of the comps that you're providing, of the CMA that you're doing for your clients, especially in a cash deal when the appraisal is not required, make sure that you have those records, have that proof that you've provided some sort of method to give them a ballpark figure of what that property should be worth in the current market, so that they can't come back later and try to sue you and say that you knew that they were overpaying and you didn't tell them. So again, just protection for yourself. So CYA with the CMA. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So so we were talking about appraisals. Now back to appraiser power. How much power does an appraiser have in your real estate transaction? How much power does the appraiser have?
Seems like it depends. You're right, Sarah. Good answer.
Yeah. They have the power to hold it up big time, don't they?
I was gonna say, sometimes it hinges on when they get it done, what they say when they do it. So yeah, they're heavyweights based on it depends based on the contract.
Okay, so appraisers, they actually do have a significant role to play on whether or not your transaction even makes it. So we have to wait for them to get the appraisal done, and so we have to have enough time to allow for. And by the way, it's taking them a lot longer because there's such a high demand. So make sure your due diligence periods are allowing enough time for the appraiser to get there, get the report done, and get it back. And sometimes, you guys, it's taking 30 to 45 days on the appraisal only. So be prepared for that, because these appraisers are backed up. Okay. I have a transaction that's currently under works, and our problem in this transaction is that the appraiser was doing some pushback on what type of financing. So the buyer is a part of an estate. And so they're both seller and buyer, but they're one of many sellers that all own the estate. And the appraiser kept pushing back on the lender, saying that it needed to be a refinance as opposed to a regular purchase, because apparently the parameters that they use are different. And even the value that they would attribute to the property if it were refinanced as opposed to a full regular appraisal. And so with that in mind, that appraiser having the constant pushback, claiming that the buyer can't be both buyer and seller, or it can't be a sale as opposed to a refinance, that has a big impact on how we complete this transaction, what we have to do to possibly quit claim these particular sellers so that they can buy it, or what we have to do in order to best move forward in that transaction. And we got all this pushback from the appraiser. And so, that's something to be aware of, is that the value of the property, even from an individual appraiser, will be different if it is a refinance versus a, Carrie, you're not on mute, by the way. Just so you know.
We've heard your wonderful etiquette last week, or before last.
Yeah. So be aware. Appraised value for refinance versus appraised value for purchase is apparently different. I don't know why it is different, or should it be different? We don't get to say. So just be aware of that in your actual transactions, and that your appraisers, if they are pushing back a little bit, based on what's in the contract, that they do have that power to potentially hold up your transaction. So, or force you to renegotiate it in some cases. So just wanted to share that scenario with you guys, because that's one that we are having to revamp because of the pushback from the appraiser. And so this is the first transaction that I've had where the appraiser has had so much back and forth and so much delay in this process, just on the appraisal end, before we can even move forward with the rest of it.
But that's an interesting or different scenario too, though. The seller also being a buyer. So maybe that, I don't know, maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
Yeah, but what it raised was the big question mark of, why does it matter? Is the value different if it's a refinance as opposed to a purchase? And that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And that's actually what I've heard. I've heard that refi is appraised differently for a refi as opposed to a purchase.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Maybe we need to have an appraiser in our next Glad You Asked.
Maybe
I've never understood that. I feel like the value is the value, period.
Right.
And that's
what
moment in time in the market, whether it's whatever side that you're on, it's in that moment in the market, the value is the value. I don't understand why it should be different.
Right.
I mean, I know that it always has been, but I don't understand that.
Right. Right. And well, maybe, and it could be, and Tiffany mentioned this, something about the parameters being different for a refi than a standard purchase. And maybe it's because the lender has different requirements, whether it's a refi as opposed to a standard purchase. And if that's the case, maybe they don't want to give a current owner who's refining certain things. I don't know, but maybe we'll find that out.
I want to see if I can get an appraiser who'd be willing to
To
be
say,
grilled.
yeah, exactly.
When I tell them why, like, can you come and join us on a Zoom call? They'll probably be like, no.
No. Or maybe we get them in the green room and then
Yeah.
post it to everybody. We'll
Lock-
see. We'll work
Lock
on
them
that.
in there
Yeah,
and make
we'll
until
work
they
on it.
answer our questions.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
She said, discipline my kitten. I love it, Carrie. That's funny.
Is the cat's name Mike, Carrie?
I love it. I love it. That's funny. All right.
Everybody get blamed a lot.
That's funny.
All right. So
Okay.
next topic before we open it up to you guys for questions. We have a topic of dealing with this fluctuating market. So have any of you all seen any signs or evidence that things might be slowing down now? What are you noticing about the market here just in the past couple of weeks?
Are listings still going as fast? At one point it was put it on today, is gone today. You had multiple offers in a day. Not as many, okay, thank you, Carrie. Not as many multiple offers, varies by area. Very true, Sarah, depending on whether you're in Alamance County or the Triad or the Triangle. Very good point.
But the days on market are trending up, like she
Mhm,
said.
They are. Yes,
Yeah.
they are. Yes,
Mhm.
they are. They are trending up.
There are some things that I've started to know. I had an open door transaction recently, and now understanding the way in which they buy,
Mhm.
there are these mini markets existing in neighborhoods that don't actually represent the entirety of the area. It's about rental caps and if they're being met. So you're seeing these sub markets. So I just think it's really interesting.
You're
Mhm.
right, Sarah. That's a good point.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I had one where I noticed that in Durham, they Open Door was coming in attempting to purchase all of the condos in that area for that very purpose. So it was like a little sub market within this particular area. Very good point.
I'm actually using it to the benefit of my sellers now because you can pick those out. And if the neighborhood is one that they're offering on, you could potentially get a higher price with no appraisal. So it's
Yeah.
kind of great, but it's scary at the same time because what are they doing, right?
Exactly. Provide that CMA so you can CYA. Very good point. There are also more listings on the market, right? Because days on market is higher.
They're
Mhm.
increasing.
Yeah.
And so now, because they're not going on and off the market same day,
Mhm.
they might take 2 or 3 or 4 days. They're still moving very quickly. That's the thing that we want to show you. And basically have you prepare your
Mhm.
clients to understand that if it doesn't sell on day 0, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with their property.
Mhm.
It's just that it's the nature of generally this time of year,
Mhm.
as people are, we're now back to school, and I don't know what a debacle it is for some of you guys, but whoa. There, people's attention, people are being distracted right now. You usually see a bit of a slowdown
Mhm.
happen right about this time of
Mhm.
year, followed by a rapid ramp back up,
Mhm.
which I expect that we'll see probably October into mid-November as people are trying their last ditch effort to get home for the holidays, right?
Mhm.
And so we have noticed that things seem to be slowing down, but just expect that to be just the usual temporary slowdown before the final push in the next month and a half. Okay, so just wanted to prepare you for that and to make sure you have those kinds of conversations with your clients, that there's nothing wrong, that they're not going to lose their opportunity to sell if they didn't get on the market already.
Right.
Now is still a great time to sell their property. Interest rates are still so competitive. And so don't get discouraged or allow them to be if it doesn't sell immediately, instantly.
Right.
A day 3 sale is still fantastic, you know.
Even day 7.
Yeah, for people, some of you guys have never seen a house stay on the market for a whole year before, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
you know, so yeah. Exactly. So don't panic.
Don't panic.
No panic is necessary. You know, there's some usual fluctuation in a market, and so we're starting to see some fluctuation there, and just kind of wanted to talk through that so that you don't overreact, or that your clients don't overreact. All right. So that was one of the topics. Oh, and then we had that little reminder. Do we want to do the reminder?
Yeah, we can do the reminder, or let's hold the reminder till the end.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, those were our 3 topics that we had for you before we open up the floor. So do any of you all have any questions for us? Any current transactions underway that's presenting something challenging? What do you have for us today?
Oh, really? It's
telling you.
quiet in
We're
the
doing
real
it.
estate world.
We're doing a great job. Like, they have no questions.
No questions. Okay. Okay.
Lisa, will you make sure I get that addendum? I've been looking for it and I can't find it now. So I don't know what I've done with it. So do you mind sending that to me as well?
I will add it to the list. I have to send it to Tori as well. So yes,
Okay.
sir.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir. Remind me to do that. I'm gonna put that on my list.
The appraisal addendum.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, we're so glad you asked.
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, we do have just a couple of topics, like reminder type issues, and a couple of, you know, things that are coming, things to look forward to. The first reminder that we have, you all probably already know this. You all had to do your paperwork when you first joined, but maybe they were inundated by all that paperwork.
Exactly.
So just a reminder, make sure you know that you cannot share any of your MLS access information with anyone. Okay, the MLSs take that very seriously. There are some very stiff penalties and fines for doing that. So be careful and be aware and be protective of your information. Okay, so just a reminder, that's just one of those, you know, stay out of jail free cards that we want to give to you, or stay out of being fined by the MLS. And then, you know, that's just, the fine is, believe it or not, one of the more lenient actions. Some MLSs will actually remove your ability to have MLS access if you give your information to anyone. So just be careful and be aware and protect that that MLS and login information.
And that goes for assistants as well. They actually can have their own login. So if you have an assistant that is truly assisting with MLS activities and MLS input and data and all that good stuff, make sure you contact MLS, let them know, and they will give them their own login after the paperwork and all that good stuff, of course.
All right. So if you want to use an assistant and you want them to help you, there is the ability to have them have their own MLS access. Never give them yours. Okay. So it's really important to make sure everybody's crystal clear on that, so that you won't lose your privileges to the MLS or get these pretty hefty fines. How much are these fines, Teresa?
Oh, geez. They can start in the thousands, low, $1,000. Some 1,000, 2,500, 3,500, and even expulsion. You can be kicked out of, and that costs you thousands, because no business, right? You can't search these properties to get in and all that stuff. So we don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. We don't want it to happen, nor does MLS want it to happen, because they rather have your money and you doing business. So
All right. So that's one little friendly reminder, just a protection for
Mhm.
you all.
Mhm.
And then a couple of things that are coming up. So, you know, we now have our official local policies and procedures.
do.
They're done. And we are working on the rollout process as we speak. So
Mhm.
we're really excited. So be on the lookout for more information on how you can get access to the local policies and procedures
Mhm.
and review those just so that you have lots of answers to some of the basic questions about what our rules and procedures and such are.
Mhm.
Oh, Carrie. Okay. Thank you, Carrie, for that. So Carrie just added in the chat the actual offenses for Bakar
Mhm.
when it comes to your MLS. $1,000 first offense, 2,500 second, and third is expulsion.
Mhm.
So again, very stiff penalties for violating that MLS rule
Yep.
of giving someone access to your account. So just be very careful about that. Thanks, Carrie. Thanks for that. And so, yeah, so policies and procedures, we are doing several different things to roll those out to you. Some of you guys have seen them already. We have some big bites that have been sent out. Have you been getting those? Have you seen them?
Mhm.
All right. And so we are using those as methods to begin to roll these out to you in small bites, you know, instead of just dropping a whole document on them,
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So be on the lookout. We're going to have a schedule of those coming out regularly, just to give you some little bites, little updates on local policies and procedures. Most of them should be reminders, but there might be a few things that you're surprised about. So we want to just get those out to you guys, and we're doing it in a well thought out
Yeah.
and well planned
Plan.
fashion
Mhm.
to help you with that.
Mhm.
And don't forget, in addition to Glad You Asked, we now have a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Tell them about the benefits of the YouTube channel.
So now that we have, and we are so thankful that Miss Montrose shared her other part of her with us.
What, should we say better? You're not gonna say better.
I'm not, no,
half,
I know,
right?
I know better than to say better.
Other half.
I'm just gonna say other. The other half of the Montrose team is now part of the team here. We're so happy. He's our tech guy. That's not what they call it, but that's what I call him. The tech guy.
You call him Tech Genius, right?
I do call him TG for
Yeah.
genius. Yeah. The tech genius. He's absolutely great. So he has taken over YouTube and he's posting all of the informative videos, educational videos there. So be on the lookout for that. He's doing a fabulous job with that. So that's now in his hands. So go out there. There's an education and update playlist under our channel. So you'll see more things there as well. So now that he has taken that will free us up to do and stay in our lane. I'll say it like that. YouTube and technology is not my lane. So that's why it took so long for stuff to get out there, because I was trying to be in someone else's lane.
All right. So we are just so thrilled about all the things that are happening and the things that are rolling out, and really getting more and more resources and more information out to you all at your fingertips, and something that you can access whenever it's convenient to you. So we love to have you here with us live on the Glad You Asked, but we do have those videos going out on YouTube as well. And we do have them by topic. So if you can at least remember the topic, if you wanted to go back and hear something that we've talked about, those will be out there for you. Pretty much, are they now?
Yeah, he's been working on it. So I would definitely this week, definitely by the first of next week, they should all be out there.
They should all be there. All right. So we're excited, you guys, about all the fantastic things that are happening. If you have any questions for us, again, we have Glad You Asked every Thursday at 1:00. So we'll look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you for joining.
Yay. All right. You have some more time back in your day.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Have a good one. See you next week.
Bye.
Pretty good.